By coincidence, I happened to grow up using Bushy Park, so I grew up in Twickenham and Bushy Park was my local park. The large army camps in Bushy Park had been demolished and removed in 1964, so the landscape is really quite unchanged during my lifetime. However, stories of the occupation of the park by the army camp were retold to me by relatives who lived in Teddington. Camp Griffiss in Bushy Park took up a sizable amount of space, and it was set up as a site for locating light industry that had been bombed out of central London during the Blitz. It never fulfilled that function because it was taken over as an army base, and then later on the US Army Air Force took over the place, and it was called Camp Griffiss. It took up a lot of acreage, so I would guessing it must have taken up about 200 acres probably in all. After the war there was a great shortage in housing, so a lot of the Nissen huts immediately after the camp was disused by the armed forces, squatters moved in and they used it as housing. So there was a lot of people that were bombed out, had to share homes, and under their own action they moved in, and that became established. And the local authority put on services for them, and water and gas and so on. So a lot of families were there for really quite a few years, and we had people coming back to visit the park who'd been born even in the Nissen huts. And in fact, when the camp was going to be demolished back in '64, there was a significant amount of local opposition to that, because it had a sports track and it had buildings which were used as local facilities, and people then didn't want to see that go. It was useful. The area of the park now, since the camp was demolished and reinstated back to parkland, apart from the two monuments, you really wouldn't know that anything was there. It's a flat area. It was all reinstated. The camp was demolished to just below ground level, and then topsoil was spread over it, and the natural vegetation reseeded it, and grass grew and the deer grazed it. There were some trees that have grown very large now that were avenue trees along roadsides in the camp. We've got some big Lombardy poplars that were there. We've relaxed grass cutting on that area to let it get into tussocks and let ant hills develop as well, and just let it return back to deer grazed parkland, rough parkland, which gives a lot more overwintering habitat for invertebrates particularly. Woodland areas that the camp actually used, there were buildings put under the woodland. We've got plans to develop that as a deer sanctuary, so we're actually going to put fences around that area. It'll still be accessible by people, but it is just to give an area which the deer can go in, which is a little bit more tranquil for them. And the fences will allow leaf litter on the ground to be re-established, which again will improve the ground flora and fauna. So there isn't any real trace, other than the monuments, that anything was there at all now.